what was our first learning objective? Go. That was the rule. What was our first learning objective? How to be wise, yeah. Understand what it means to be wise. So, all of you in this room are what we call leaders. Because every day that you wake up in the morning, you have to get out of bed, you have to go and brush your teeth. Who are you leading? You are leading yourself. So you are leaders. And to be a leader means to be wise as well. But you can only become a great leader, successful in life, if you are leading yourself and leading your others through wisdom. Okay? So, in Arabic, what is wisdom? Who knows? Anyone? Don't know what it is?
Me?
Yes.
Sorry.
Put you on the spot.
Wisdom is hikmah.
Hikmah. Yes. Hikmah is wisdom. So that's what I want you to remember. Okay? Hikmah, wisdom, that's what we're working towards. That's what we're learning about. So, if it's something which we all need and we all must try to get more of. Because if you're a Muslim or a non-Muslim, they will say that wisdom is something that you must have. Let me ask you a question. When I say a wise person, what does that mean to you? When I say a wise person, what does that mean to you?
Like when you're a good person.
When you're a good person, yeah? Okay. Sorry? What's right and what's wrong? Good. Oh, be careful about that. Yep. Be respectful. Okay, come on your own. It's one rule. Yes?
When you're clever and you understand things, you can adapt to understand.
So if I say, when you're clever, can you be clever, knowledgeable, but not wise? Why not?
You can, but like you want to have respect. Like you can be. That's like what's the point? Like doing GCSEs, getting really high schools, then go to somewhere like not have manners, not have respect for people who don't want you, even though you have hard grades.
Good, excellent. Okay, so wisdom is important in life. Agreed? Is that what you're saying? Does anyone disagree with that? That you don't need wisdom to be successful? No? Okay, in the Quran, let's look at the Quran. In the Quran, God sometimes puts words together. You would have heard it. Rahman and Rahim. He also puts wisdom with words. So he puts hikmah in two places. He puts wisdom with knowledge. Yeah. Okay? So what does that tell you? It means that wisdom and knowledge do go together. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put them, but only twice. Then he's put 3 times in the Quran, wisdom not going with knowledge, but going with together with the word which means to know something in a lot of detail. So again, it's about knowledge, isn't it? Right? So now we've got 3 places detail and 2 places just knowledge. So altogether 5 places where wisdom is together with knowledge. But you know, there's 24 places where God has put wisdom with some other word. That other word is Aziz. It's like mighty, strong, powerful. Agreed? Strong person, right? So, if you think about it, and you say, wisdom going with strength, power, what does that mean? How can that work? If you can be wise, and through wisdom, you become strong. Let me give you a story. I'll give you a story first, and then we'll discuss it, okay? So, there lived a lot of animals in the forest. And in this forest, there's one lion. The lion was very, very powerful. Everyone thought that the lion was the top, the king of the jungle, okay? But then, there was also an old rabbit, an old hare. And all the animals were really scared of this lion because the lion used to eat animals every day. Every day, he said, I'm hungry, I'm going to go and eat an animal. Just randomly, just pick an animal, and then kill it and eat it. So, one day, this old, very wise rabbit got all the animals in the forest together. And they got them together, sat them in the corner and said, right, I've got a plan, I've got an idea. That idea is as follows. He said, let us all make a rota, make a list. So first of all, tomorrow you're going to be eaten by the lion. The next day, you're going to be eaten by the lion. The next day, you're going to be eaten by the lion. I know it's not the best idea, is it? Because you still get eaten. But what it means is that you can plan. You know you're third. So you've got 2 days to plan, right? Before it was random. You just pick. So at least now you know when you're going to be eaten. So they all said, that's at least one idea. We can't do anything else, so let's do that. So they agreed. And after 3 days, it was the hare's turn. So 3 animals got killed, they got eaten. After 3 days, it was the rabbit's turn, the hare's turn. So the hare, the rabbit, hare and rabbit's sort of similar animal. He said, it's my day today, I've got to go to the place where we told the lion that we'll go, and then they can eat me. So he was a bit late. He decided, I'm going to go late. And the lion got really angry, was really hungry. You know how you feel when you're really hungry, you get really angry. He's saying, where's this rabbit? Where's this rabbit? If he doesn't come soon, I'm going to just eat any animal. And that agreement we had with the animals, I give up. And then along came the hare, trotting along, and then he said, where have you been? He was really angry. I'm going to eat you up right now. And the hare said, hold on. I was late because there was another lion who stopped me on my way here. And that lion, right, told me, you better go and tell the other lion that this is my territory. So that lion, the original lion, got really annoyed. He got really angry. He said, what's going on? How come there's another lion in my territory? Yeah? So he said, take me to the lion. We're going to have a fight. So the rabbit said, okay, I'll take you to the lion. So the rabbit took him to a well or a lake. Yeah? And the lion, I'm respecting, and the lion said, where is this animal, this other lion? And the rabbit said, he's down in that well. So the lion looked in the well, saw his reflection. What do you think he did? He jumped in to go and fight the other lion. But he couldn't come out again. So what happened is that lion died in the well. Right. For those older kids like you guys who should be understanding, what was the moral of the story? The moral is that you can be wise, and through your wisdom, because the rabbit was very wise, he got a plan. And through his wisdom, what did he become? He became stronger than the lion. Do you see that? Does that make sense? And all of you, each one of us, if you are wise, if you become wise and you look for becoming wise and getting more wisdom, you can be stronger than the most powerful person on this earth. And that's one of the personalities who was stronger than everyone else and who was wise. We are here today, why we are sitting in this marquee. Hussein alayhi salam. And he was wise, and because of his wisdom, he became one of the strongest persons alive at that time, even though he died. Agreed? Great. So now we go back to that first question. If I asked you again, after hearing that story, and hearing that, what does it mean to be wise? Yeah. Clever. What did we say about the story? What does the story tell you?
To be clever and tell other people what to do and make a plan so that you can't.
And make a plan. Okay, good.
You can't tell us that the hare was brave to trick the lion.
Is brave, so through wisdom can be brave, yes. Strong, that's what I was looking for. Well done. Okay, thank you very much, everyone else. Strong, we said, if you are wise, you can be strong, right? So if you want to be strong, what do you have to go and look for? You have to go and look for becoming wise, okay? And that's what we're going to look to try and find out. Let me give you a few hadith to link it back to Islam. So our seventh Imam, he said, humans have not been given anything higher than wisdom and intellect. There's two things that humans have been given the most of. First is knowledge, intellect, and the second is wisdom. Shows the importance of wisdom. Okay? There's no rapping going on here. Second, eighth Imam, he said, wisdom is every man's friend. So if you want a friend, try and find wisdom. I don't know where it is, we'll see if we can find out where it is. But remember, if you want a friend, try and find wisdom. Some of you already said what wisdom was, like being good-mannered, behaving, respecting, all of these things. Okay? What about in the Quran? The Quran also says, glory be to thee, of knowledge we have none, save that he has taught us, And then it says, in truth, it is you who are perfect in knowledge and wisdom. And then it also says in the Quran, just as we have sent among you a messenger from yourself, that's the Prophet, to recite the verses and to purify yourselves and to teach you the Quran and to teach you wisdom. So what did the Prophet come to do? Teach us the Quran and to teach us wisdom. So remember this word wisdom, it's really important, that's why I keep saying it. Wisdom, 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 wisdom. Because I want you to go away saying that wisdom is something important. Okay, great. Let me give you some idea of where we can get wisdom from. So now we know it's important. How do we find it? What do we do to find it? Okay, let me give you some things. How many times can you take 6 away from 36?
6.
Minus
7
times.
Infinity.
No. Okay, let me ask you. Right. When you take 6 away from 36, what do you get?
Minus 1.
When you take
3.
30. Then when you take 6 again, what are you taking it from? 30. You're not taking it from 36. So how many times have you taken 6 away from 36? Only once. Because the next time you're taking it away from 30. Does that make sense? Not yet? No, don't get it. Okay, we'll talk about it later, right? We'll talk about it later. Okay, I'll give you another one. How do you spell mousetrap with only 3 letters? Yeah, go on. C-A-T. Well done. Wise. Okay? Cat. A cat is a mousetrap. Oh, okay. Okay, I'll give you another one. Okay, I'll give you another one. A man said his cat could jump higher than a house, and he was right. How? Houses can't jump. So of course a cat can jump higher than the house. The house can't jump. You got it. You got it. All right. What was I? Okay, guys, thank you. Come on, remember to wrap. What was I trying to make you do? Yeah. Think. Yeah, think was the word. If I might have all the intelligence in the world, I might be top of my class, but I can still get these questions wrong. Because I haven't thought about it. I haven't thought very deeply about what the question was asking. And that's one step towards becoming wise. Is that if you don't think, you won't become wise. Let me give you another one. Can you know something without knowing that you know it? I'll say it slowly, alright? Can you know something without knowing that you know it? I'll give you another one. We'll think about that. If I read a newspaper in the shop and put it back, is that stealing? Okay, I'll clarify. I'll be clear. If I went into a shop and picked up the newspaper, read the whole newspaper and put it back, is that stealing? No one's shouting out because that's not respectful to people around you. Yes. You only have to look, you can't read it. If you read it, it's stealing. Is that what you think? Okay. Okay?
I think it is stealing because you've read the whole newspaper and you haven't paid for it.
You've read the whole newspaper, but you haven't paid for it. Good. It's a good one. Yep.
You might have damaged the newspaper and that's
Okay. Yeah, fine. That's a good point. But let me go on. Let me change this slightly. What if you go into the TV store and watch your best football match in the TV store? Is that stealing? No. You haven't damaged the TV, have you?
No.
All right. Thank you. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Another one. No, hands down. If I ask you, can I steal your pen? And you say yes. And then I steal it. Is that allowed? There's no right or wrong answer. What was I trying to make you do? Think, okay? Think. That's the important part. Thinking is one step towards wisdom. One last one, okay? One last one. There are 3 piles of leaves in the back garden and 7 piles of leaves in the front garden. When all the piles of leaves are put together, how many piles of leaves will I have? Yeah. No. Just one. Because you put everything together. Just one pile. I'll tell you later. Right? We'll have a discussion later. Okay, never mind. Okay. Right, guys, thank you. Let's go back, because we remember we have to try and understand what wisdom is. So remember the learning objective. Because if we don't achieve that, we'll still stay here for ages and ages and ages. Okay? Who cares? Okay. That's one of your crosses. Yeah? 2 more, you're outside in the cold. Okay. Second. Guys, thank you. Second thing. First one was we have to think. That's one of the first ways of getting wisdom. What's the second thing? Okay, the second thing is what you do at school. What I said you do at the beginning. Not education. What I said that you do all the time at school. What did I say at the beginning? Not clever, but what I say you do with each other. When you do a work, yeah? Respect, yeah? Feedback is what I was looking for. Feedback. So, if you do something which is not quite right, or which is good, what should I be doing to make you wiser about that action? If I give you feedback, that's a good way of you becoming wiser. Okay, just put your hands down. I just want to go through a few things, okay? Why is that? Because if you don't know where you are bad at, so if you want to be a good footballer, right? And if you don't know that you're bad at shooting, then you're never going to be the best footballer, alright? What do you need? You need a coach. What does the coach do? The coach gives you feedback. The coach says to you, you need to work on your shooting. I'll help you and I'll train you. But what's the first stage? Giving you feedback. And that makes you, what makes you a little bit wiser? Because now you know what my weakness is shooting. I need to work on that, and I can concentrate on that. So I've become wiser. Yes, we talked about wisdom being respect and being good people, but also it's about knowing where your weakness is, what you need to improve on yourselves. Because if you don't know what you need to improve, you'll never become a leader of others, and you never become successful. And that's what successful people do. They always ask for feedback. So what I suggest you guys think about is, over the next week in school, one time, just go to one of your friends and say, can you give me some feedback? Give me some feedback about me. Because that's the only way you are going to become better. If you don't, if you close your eyes and you say, I don't care what other people think, I know I'm good, you're not wise. Because that's not wisdom. Right? And if you're not wise, what did we say? You won't get to the best place, because you need to be wise. And if you're not wise, what did we also say? You won't be strong and powerful. You'll be weak. You'll be down at the bottom. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to go up to be wise. Okay? So, what did we say? 2 things. We need to think, and we need to have feedback. We need to give and take feedback. Let me give you another story. Okay? Give you another story. So, let me find the story first. One of the things about feedback is also how you give it. Remember that. If I go to my friend tomorrow and say, give me feedback, and he says, you're rubbish at this, you're rubbish at this, you're rubbish at this, you're rubbish at this. It's not really feedback, is it? How would you say on your partner, colleague's book, your friend's book in school, when you give feedback, your teacher says, to improve, or to get a level 5, or to get a level 6, you need to do this, this, this. Or, what's the first statement you're always told to make? Good work, or you did this very well. It's always a positive comment. Okay? Listen to the way this person gave feedback. Okay? So, this is a very well-known scholar in Iran. There was one person called Ali. He was a young boy, and he wasn't a very good person. He was very bad, he used to do a lot of bad things, And he used to live in Iran, he used to live in Qom, in Iraq, in Najaf, and he used to walk along to his school every morning. One morning he passed this grand scholar Sayyid, and the Sayyid said to him, alright, he passed across, and behind them was the Haram of Imam Ali alayhi salam. So the Sayyid said to him, Assalamu alaikum, what's your name? And that young boy, actually the Sayyid knew who it was, but he was just giving feedback. He was giving feedback in a different way. Okay? So he said to him, hello, what's your name? And that boy said back to the Sayyid, he said, my name's Ali. So the Sayyid said back to him, and the Sayyid, remember, Sayyid knew that he was bad, he wasn't a very good person. So all the Sayyids said back to him was, you are Ali, and in that haram behind you is also Ali. Have you ever thought what the difference between you, Ali, and that Ali is? Right? It's not just about the names, it's also about how they behaved, isn't it? So the personality. So this, and then they walked, then the Sayyid went. He went to his work and Ali went to school. The next day, right, that's your second, excuse me, it's your second. Yeah? No. Seriously, I'm sitting here and you threw something. It's not respectful to me or people around you. Okay, so you can put that over there. Yeah, great, okay, thank you. Okay, brilliant. So, back to the story. So, we said that the Sayyid said to Ali, what's the difference between you, Ali, and that Ali? And then he walked away, and that Ali went to school and he thought, and he goes, look, this is the first stage of wisdom. He thought, and he said, actually, what did he say? That Ali was a great person. He was really respectful. He was one of the best people on earth. And I'm really rude. I'm really this, I'm really that. I think I need to change myself. Do you see how asking a question was good feedback? So on your partner's book in school, for example, you might say, have you thought about this? Right? If you're drawing a poster on cells, for example, and you have to peer assess about cells, have you thought about the difference between animal and plant cells? Or, you could ask that question, or you could say, you have not done this and your poster is rubbish. Which is the better feedback? The better feedback is the question. So have you seen how you give feedback is as important as giving feedback in itself? Okay? Because then people become wiser and you become wiser. So it's not just about giving feedback, it's about how you give feedback. And let's look at another example. Who's the second and the third Imam? Imam Hassan and Hussein. They also gave feedback. There's a well-known story. There was an old man in the mosque. Some of you may have heard this. And he was doing wudu. Right? Yeah, exactly. So let's tell people who don't know. He was doing wudu, but he was doing wudu wrong. He wasn't doing wudu quite correct. So Imam Hassan and Hussein came along and they said, if we tell the old man you're doing wudu wrongly, imagine if you, two boys, went and you saw an old person, a respectful person, he was doing wudu wrong. It'd be hard for you to go and tell. It's not very nice, is it? So how did they give feedback to that person? They didn't show him. What they did is that they sat next to him and they started saying to each other, my wudu is better than yours, my wudu is better than yours. And then they went to the old man and said, do you mind judging between us? Telling us whose wudu is the best? So the old man said, okay, let's go. And they both did wudu, and the old man said, that's not how I do wudu. They're actually correct. And then he realized that his way was wrong, and he corrected himself. So have you seen that the two boys, Imam Hassan and Imam Hussein, actually gave feedback, not directly, but in a different way. Right? So remember that, okay? It's not all the time, I'm just saying that that's another way of becoming wise. Wisdom, okay? Remember that. Okay. So the most important thing about getting feedback is how we use it. If somebody writes on my poster about cells, have you thought about the difference between plant and animal cells, and I don't do anything about it, is that going to make me better? No. So I have to do something about it. Listen to this story. Another story. Interesting one. Right. Two frogs, and there's a whole, you've been to my Fajr lecture, that's why you've heard it, right? Put it together. Two frogs and lots of other frogs. And the two frogs are walking around down in the forest, and then suddenly they got slightly separated, and they went like a little bit on a different path. And there was a hole, and the two frogs fell in the hole. And the hole was so deep that they couldn't get out. You know, frogs can jump quite high, but they couldn't get out because the hole was so deep. But it's not really deep that they couldn't get out. So they thought, you know what, let's try. And then suddenly all the other frogs thought, where have they gone? So they went and they all surrounded the hole and they looked down and they said, there they are. So first they all said, come on, jump, jump, jump. So the two frogs started jumping, jump, jump up, jump up. And they're almost there. It's like if this is the edge, they were getting up to here and they were falling down. Getting up to here and falling down. They're nearly there. And they tried for hours and hours and hours. And then all the frogs on the outside of the hole started getting a bit tired. And they said, look, they're not going to get out. We can't help them. So they might as well just stop. So they started shouting at the two frogs in the hole. And they started saying, look, stop jumping, stop jumping. It's not good anymore. You're never going to get it. You're just losing your energy. You might as well pray some prayers and do some du'as and things and go into the corner and die, because then we have to go, because we're going to be late to our whatever they were going to, okay? So they kept shouting, and the frogs in the hole said, no, we don't want to die. So they kept trying. But then one of the frogs said, actually, I might as well take the feedback that they're giving me. And he went to the corner. He died. Okay? He went to his own corner, he turned up, and he died. Because the other frogs kept going, kept going, kept going. And the frogs on the outside were saying, no, stop, stop. And they're waving all their legs, and they're saying, stop, stop, stop. There's no point, just save your energy. And the frog was jumping harder and harder and harder. And then suddenly, with one push, he jumped so high, he got out. And all the frogs were like astounded. Wow, how did he manage that? So they went to ask him. And they said, how did you manage to jump so high? Because we were telling you to stop. Just like the other frog, we told the other frog, we're giving feedback, remember? We told the other frog, stop jumping, there's no point, save your energy. And he saved his energy and he managed to die calmly and with his own energy. Right? He wasn't very tired and died a horrible death. But you kept jumping. Why was that? Did you not see us waving and saying stop, stop, stop? And the frog didn't understand at first. And then they started again, they said it nothing. And he was then reading the lips. And then he realized what they were saying, and he said to them, did you not know that I was blind and I was deaf? Sorry, not blind, just deaf. So I couldn't hear what you're saying. So when I looked at you and you were doing this, I thought you were cheering me on. I thought you were telling me, come on, come on, come on. So with all my energy, I said, if they're going to help me, I'm going to go. So what is the moral? The moral was that when you give feedback, it depends what you want to achieve with that feedback. And if you think that feedback is not appropriate, then it doesn't mean you should take it. When you give feedback, so you're going to give me feedback, I want you to throw me some feedback. Throw me some feedback. Right, I catch it. What do? I look at it and I say, is that feedback that's going to help me to become wise? If not, then I'm going to put it on the side. If yes, then I'm going to put it in there and I'm going to use it. So remember, it's all about thinking. And when you get feedback, you have to think, is that going to make me wiser? Is that going to help me to become better? So when you get feedback, think about it first. Just like the frog, he didn't think about what they were saying. He was having his own thoughts, I'm going to get out of this hole. And he got out of the hole. He did not look at what they were saying. Okay, so we've talked about quite a few stories now. Do you want another story? Maybe I'll give you another story, okay, before we get near to the end. So I'm going to read this one a little bit. Once upon a time, there was a young painter, and he had just completed his course. He was a course and he was painting, okay? And his master, his teacher, was a really good painter. So the young artist, like one of you, or maybe a bit older, said, I want to test how my painting is. So one day, he painted a beautiful scenery, beautiful, painted with paints and everything, really perfect. And he went to the local town and he put it in the street. And he wrote underneath, if you find any mistakes, put a cross near my painting. And he left a pencil. And then he went home. The next day he came back and his whole painting was full of crosses. Loads of people had said, there's a mistake there, there's a mistake there, there's a mistake there, it's not right colour there, and they put crosses. And he was really, so they were giving feedback, remember? Giving different type of feedback, they're giving feedback. He was really disappointed. He said, I'm not a very good painter, and he was really depressed, he got downhearted, he wasn't very happy. So he went to his teacher and said, look what happened. I thought I painted my best picture, but the people in the stand didn't like it. So the teacher, the master, he smiled and he said, "My student, I will prove to you that you are a great artist. But what you've done is you've asked for feedback in the wrong way." Okay? So he said, "Trust me. Paint the thing again." So the artist painted the whole landscape lovely, beautifully again. But this time, his teacher took him to the street, and this time again they put it on the street, but this time they didn't say, if you have any, or if you see any mistakes, put across. What they said, if you see any mistakes, here's some paintbrushes, correct it. And then they went. The next morning they came out, there was not a single correction. And the artist was, wow, what happened there? The teacher said, people are very easy at criticizing, at saying you're not very good at this. They're very easy at putting crosses. They're not very easy at telling you or helping you on how to improve. So the next type, or the way of getting wisdom, said thinking. The next is giving feedback. But the third is to help the person you're giving feedback to. If I say to you, you need to improve your shooting skills, as a coach, what do I need to do next? Help you to improve, train you, give you that help. As a teacher, if I say, back to the sales poster, you need to improve by putting this on the sales, what do I need to give you? I need to give you a sheet or a book where you can find the information. I need to help you. Otherwise, I'm just criticizing you. And that's another way of becoming wise, of supporting and helping and taking that feedback, okay? So we talked about three things. Can anyone remember what the three things were? What's the first thing that I need to do to become wise? Yeah. Thinking. Good. What's the second thing I need to do to become wise? That's if when I become wise, I can become strong. What do I need to do to become wise? That's when I become wise, yeah? Make the right decisions. How do I make the right decisions? By giving feedback. And the third one was, when I give feedback, what else do I need to do? I need to help people. Well done. I need to help them to become better. And all of those things, it's not the only ones, but it's some of the things that we can do to become wise. And then what we said at the back, once we become wise, what do we become? Strong. Because if we are strong, if we are wise, we are strong as well. Okay? Good. Excellent. So we achieved some of the learning objectives. Understand what it means to be wise and how to get there. Good. Okay, let's see what we need to talk about next. Talked about that, right. So, how long have we got? 10 minutes? So, later on, maybe I'll ask you to think about a few questions that I want you to ask me or other people, okay? Maybe we'll have a go at giving some feedback. Okay, we'll have a go at that, and maybe I'll give you some more of those thinking questions as well. Okay? But what I would like you to do now is maybe just respect a little bit while I say a few of the lines that Imam Hussein said when he was in Karbala, okay? And I want you to think about it and listen, because look at the feedback that Imam Hussein was giving, okay? Imam Hussein said on the day of Karbala, he said, first, he gave feedback to the people. What did he do? He gave feedback to the people. How did he give feedback? Listen, he said, "O people, listen to my speech and do not be quick until I have given you a piece of advice." What was he doing? He was giving feedback. About what? Concerning your duty to me. And he said, "I seek forgiveness for coming here." And then he said, if you listen to me and if you take my feedback, right, and if we deal truthfully and with justice, then let's go home. Let's not fight. Did you know that Imam Hussein told the other army that let's not fight? He said, let's just be truthful, let's just be just, and let's just agree on a way to move forward. Let's not fight. Yeah? Let's go like in the court. Let's just sit together and discuss. Let's talk about it. and leave me, and I'll go back to Medina, and you go back to Kufa, and nobody needs to die. That's what he said at the beginning. Yeah? Before the fight, yeah. So what was he trying to do? He was trying to give feedback, and he was also trying to help the situation. Two things about wisdom, remember, giving feedback and helping about the situation. Then he goes on. Then he said, O people, reflect upon who I am, and then look and question yourselves. What was he telling the people to do? He was saying, question yourselves. What was that?
So see what I am.
Yeah. Yeah.
And do compare that to what you are.
Like the feedback of that Ali person, right? But also, what was he telling them to do? He was telling them to think, which is one of the things. He was saying, I'm wise, I'm telling you to think, so you be wise as well. But what did they do? They didn't think. They didn't take the advice and the feedback. And what happened? They started fighting against it, which wasn't the best thing, was it? Right. So today I want to also talk about two of the young boys, like your age, who were there. Does anyone know their names? Yeah?
There's Abdullah.
Yeah, he was very young, yeah.
He's not that young, but Ali, he wasn't like...
He was a bit older. There's two brothers, other brothers who were similar age. Anyone? Yeah? Go. Bibi Zainab's. Yeah. Never mind. It's okay. We're going to talk about it, okay? So, there was two boys. One was called Aoun and one was called Muhammad. And they were the sons of Bibi Zainab alayhi salam. And they had accompanied, they came with Bibi Zainab from Medina. Just before Imam Hussein started his journey from Mecca. Their father said that I am handing you my two sons. I am giving you my two sons. And what he's saying is that I'm giving them and I'm trusting your responsibility to you. Can you imagine? Can you imagine if your parents said to somebody else, your uncle, I'm giving you these sons, and your parents knew that you were going somewhere where you would be killed? Can you imagine how hard that is on your mother, on your father especially? The boys were two very, very brave boys, and they were very strong. What did that mean they had? They had wisdom, they were wise. What did they do? On the night of Ashura, before Ashura day, Bibi Zainab said to them, my sons, tomorrow there will be a battle. I cannot ask you to fight because you are very young. But if anything happens to Imam Hussein while you are still alive, I will be filled with shame. Both the boys stood up and they said, Mother, we have the blood of Ali and Jafar in our veins. Our grandfathers were warriors, wise warriors, whose fame will always be remembered. Do you think we can possibly not fight? Moreover, we are the pupils of Abbas. We are the pupils, the students of Abbas. Okay? Then they said, Mother, if you'd stop us from going to the battlefield and fighting these people who are not wise, then how can we show our bravery? All we want from you is to promise that you will not cry when we die. This was the boys, same age as you, and they were saying, we want to go. That means they had thought, thinking, and they were wise. And they said, let us go, let us go, let us go. So, can you imagine how the mother felt, how the mom felt, when their son said, I want to go, because I want to be brave. She was really proud, and she hugged them. And then in the morning, Aoun and Muhammad went side by side with Ali Akbar and Alqasim and Hazrat Abbas, and every time either of them succeeded in killing the enemy, he would look proudly at his teacher Hazrat Abbas and say, I learned from you. I learned how to be wise from you. Okay? But then they didn't get the chance to go one-on-one. You know, at that time, they used to go one by one. Sometimes they used to go in a group, let's fight. And sometimes they say, I want to go on my own. You watch me. I want to show you how brave I am. So they went to Imam Hussein's tent, okay, and they said, we really want to go on our own to fight. And Imam Hussein thought back when he was young, and Hazrat Abbas used to look after him. When he used to fall, Hazrat Abbas used to pick him up. He's saying that young boys, they were really brave, really wise. How can I stop these brave, young, wise people from going? So he said, okay, you can go. So he hugged them and he let them go. And the two boys rode on their horses out to the battlefield. And they were, remember, I keep saying this, they were brave, but what comes with bravery? They were wise as well, because they were thinking. And they went out, and whenever they would fight, they were really strong. Because what did we say comes with wisdom? Comes strength. And they would kill so many people, and the opposition, the enemy, were worried. They were seeing these young, small boys, they're killing all our people. So they were cowards, because they were not wise. And what do cowards do? They don't fight properly. And so what they did, they didn't send one person to fight, they sent lots of people. And that was the bad thing, that's cowardice. That's when you're not wise. And they sent lots of people, and when there was lots of people around, Muhammad and Muhammad could not handle all of them. So unfortunately, they tried their best, but fortunately for them, they were killed fighting in the way of God, with wisdom, bravery, and strength. And what happened is that they were both hit by many arrows, they fell off their horse, and they called out, Ya uncle, oh my uncle, oh Imam Hussein, come and help us. And Imam Hussein rushed to the field, and they picked them up, hugged them, and then both of them, one by one, they both died, and they both went to their Lord, and they went to meet their grandfather, Prophet. So these were the two young boys who were the same age as you guys, but what did they show? They showed bravery. And how did they show bravery? Because they went to achieve wisdom, and they thought about it, and they were strong in the face of all this other stuff. Okay? So that's what we have to learn today. And that's what we learn from Karbala. That all of those people were wise and strong. Okay? And on that note, let's recite Surah Fatiha for all those people who want to remember. Okay, I said, after we talked about that, I said we would try and give some feedback. So what I want you to do, doesn't have to be actual about the person, but what I want you to do is in pairs or threes, little groups, think about how you might tell somebody in an appropriate manner, like through a question or through showing. Maybe think about somebody in school. You might say, when he's playing football, I might want to give him feedback, but how would you do it in the best manner? Have a go at thinking about how you might do that. If you've got any questions, you can come and ask me, and maybe I'll ask you a bit later to share. Okay? So have a discussion now about that. And then I'm going to ask some of you. We've got somebody, they've got a scenario, and they just want to share the scenario with you and how they would give the feedback. So if you tell us what the scenario was.
If your friend was bullying somebody, what would you tell them?
Okay, so how would you give feedback?
How would you give feedback?
In a question. Yeah, go on. What question could you ask?
How would you like it if you were the one being bullied?
Brilliant. So that's a way of giving feedback, because if you ask that question, that person, if you go and say, stop bullying, it's not very good, but if you ask that your friend, how would you like it if you were being bullied? They might think, become wiser and stop bullying. Does that make sense? Do you see how you can change your feedback to asking the way of a question? There was another scenario we were talking about here. We're saying that if your friend is making noise when the teacher's speaking, what question could you ask? Remember what we discussed? Go on.
If the boy wasn't listening to the teacher, what question would you ask?
What question would you ask?
What would you learn if you don't listen to the teacher?
Yeah, so you could ask the question, are we learning anything in the lesson while you're doing that? And they might say, no, actually we're not learning anything. Then you could ask another question. You could say, what are we in school for? And then he might say, learning. And then he might think himself that actually maybe I should listen. You see, you've changed the feedback and you've made the person think. And when you make the person think, what do they become? Become wiser. If you just say, oi, be respectful to your teacher, they might not actually listen, right? Because you're not really... So
صلى على محمد وآل محمد. First of all, we'd like to thank our brother, respected elder, Dr. Hassanee and Bنجوان for the nice discussion that we had and the allows for today. I think they were one of the best that inshallah we use our brains, inshallah we think inshallah as much as we can.